This whole issue of skills is so important. It's obviously, for those of us who are involved in the IPC, it's important because we lay heavy claim to having skills at the heart of the kind of learning that we're asking children to do in classrooms and the kind of learning we're asking teachers to facilitate in classrooms. For those of you who know our programme well, the entire Assessment for Learning programme is essentially focused around skills. It kind of makes sense that we should spend time discussing that. And if you look at the literature and you look at conferences, there's very little time actually devoted to skills. We kind of take it for granted. That kind of phrase, knowledge, skills and understanding, just kind of flows away like a bumper sticker. And this is 2 days focused on this very crucial kind of part of learning. So it's important for those of us who are actually trying to use the IPC to help improve learning in school day by day. Imogen is a writer. What the hell does that mean? Let's find out.
Words were something that I loved and enjoyed using, but I did find as I got older, as I was sort of looking at literature from a more academic angle, sort of as I was doing my degree, that whenever I tried to write anything, I was hugely aware of the gulf between what I was producing and the stuff that I loved to read. And that was a very depressing gulf. I was very much buying into the myth at that point that writers are born, that they just sort of arrive there, able to do it. My first real light bulb moment, I think, on this sort of way to becoming a writer was reading an interview with somebody who said, well, of course, the first 250,000 words that any writer produces are normally pretty terrible. And that was a hugely freeing thing for me, because I suddenly thought, oh right, so I just have to get through being bad at this. So rather than thinking that every sentence that I took up my pen had to be the equivalent of Austen's or Dickens or Dorothy L. Sayers, I was just thinking, okay, now I just have to get through these and improve.
But when you practice for a purpose, and have that mentality of practice, practice, practice. And at the end of every session, make sure you've achieved something. The term that's used in sport is one that is called practice tough, play easy. I don't know if any of you heard that or are aware of that. Now by that, always practice harder than how it's going to be when you have to go out and perform when it matters. Now the older you get, the wiser you become, ideally. And it will tell you that taking shortcuts very rarely works. It may do for a short time, but in the long run, the shortcuts get found out. You go back to square one, but you've really come down a run or two on that ladder that I've spoken about already. I want to understand my own game, what made me tick. I use my coach, I use my mentors, I use my own knowledge, the more experienced I became. And the sooner you understand your own game, the easier it becomes. Because then you're not just reliant upon your coaches, but you can then self-coach. And when you're in a position to self-coach, you're then thinking, you've done pretty well. Never stop learning. To me, that is absolutely key. The older I became, then I had taken on a lot of knowledge throughout my career. It was my duty to pass it back down to the younger players. Roles are now reversed. So for the 17-year-old learning from the senior players, I'm now a senior player. I'm going to bring that knowledge and pass that on to the younger up-and-coming players. That's all part of the learning curve. I was a player, but in a way, I was also a coach. I think that's important as well. Share your knowledge, pass it on, gets you thinking more, and you've also done your bit for the people, I won't say below you, but maybe younger than you or less experienced than you. But while you're doing it, keep enjoying it. Because if you do something well, like I said at the start, you know that hard work has been worth.
actually play something. So the performing, singing and playing, you actually have to do it, which is one of the things I think, one of some of the curricular things that are out there is talking about music. How dull is that? Talking about music is like dance and architecture, isn't it? It's you have to do it, and I'm a passionate believer in doing it. You learn by doing it because it's a physical thing you're doing. It's like, Alec, with cricket. I mean, you wouldn't learn cricket by just talking about it, would you? You actually go out and play it. But sometimes we think, in this type of subject, you can actually just talk about it a lot. There's knowledge attached to it. I'm not decrying that there's knowledge, because that's an important thing for the context. But to get that fundamental sort of joy and buzz and desire to actually do something, you need to do it. Right? So that's what you need to make sure is happening.